Welcome to Maker Monday here at MatchBOX Makers Lab, and I'm Patrick Friday Kofi Austin right here. And how you doing there, Mr. James?
I am doing good, man. Good. I just got everything all shared out and ready to go. I'm excited. Tonight we have such a good guest. This dude knows so many things about so many 3D printers, everything. And he's actually sent us, and I haven't even opened it yet because I got it today. He sent us a care package for some upgrade printers. As you can see, the one in the back right is down right now, but I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey there, I'm Tim. I run a company called TH3D Studio here in Hobart, Indiana with my wife. We got a small team of people here, and we specialize in upgrades and parts and accessories for most of the major Chinese 3D printer manufacturers out there. So that's about me. I love printing, love computers, home automation, drones. I'm a bit of a nerd, just a little bit.
Yeah, aren't we all though? We're all nerds in some way. Some more computer related, some more Magic the Gathering related.
This is true.
Kofi. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, like he really undersold himself there because literally I know people all over the nation and like I'm like, hey, what kind of print bed? I literally just asked the guy yesterday what kind of print bed he had, and he was like, oh, and he sends me the link to this guy's website. I'm like, oh, that's funny because I'm talking to him on Monday. That's really cool. Yeah, like there's a bunch of people using your stuff. You're really getting out there. Really seems like your business is really booming too. And from
we get around.
Every time I'm talking to you, you definitely know what you're talking about, right? Like you and your team of people really seem like you really know what's up with 3D printing, which is cool because that's hard to master, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. We don't know everything. I want to be clear, but we know enough to be dangerous, I think is the right term.
And dangerous is good sometimes. Sometimes not, but sometimes
awesome. Most of the time, that's normally a good thing.
Yeah, I like to play around, like especially in the lab here. Like we prototype things, we play. Obviously, don't do anything really dangerous, but yeah, let's try different nozzles and that sort of thing on our 3D printers, which I got to talk to you about because I have a lot of problems with a lot of things, but we're not going to get into that now. That's for the customer service side of all of it. Tonight is more or less about like really just getting to know you, fielding questions from people who might have any, and we have our own questions too.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and Kofi will start us out with those questions. And for people who are watching, if you have any questions and you want to direct it specifically at somebody or for everybody, just go ahead and put it in there. It's fine to ask questions to Friday or me as well, not just Tim, but Tim is our special guest this week, so we only get to talk to him once. So definitely try to include him in everything there. So without further ado, go ahead, Friday.
All right, Tim. Well, once again, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. But our first question, normally our first question all the time, do you consider yourself a maker, a fabricator, an inventor, or something else? Which one would it be?
That's kind of hard. I mean, I kind of like the term maker because it encompasses all of this stuff. Yeah, I think I'd have to go with maker. I don't really think of anything like I don't think any of those other ones really fit. I mean, I think it's imposter syndrome is the word, but I feel like I know I've invented some things. It doesn't feel like it, but I definitely make things, and I do like making things. And the whole reason I got into this whole field was because I wanted to make electronics enclosures for projects I had. So, I always tinkered with, Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, other sorts of development boards. And I had always wanted to get a 3D printer. And back in late 2016 is when I got my first one, which was an ANET A8. So
yeah,
the people who are starting out with Ender 3s, you guys have no idea how easy you have it.
Yeah. So I was
So
about to say it's been like 5 years, 10 years ago. They came out way before then, but in the past probably like 3 years, they've really become usable. Really, like really usable. So if you started 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, right? Mm-hmm. 4 years ago, then yeah, you definitely started off back when it was you're using tape and everything else you could possibly think of to get that adhesion.
The Ain't It was like the best bang for the buck, but it was literally a fire hazard. Like people joke about it, but it literally was a fire hazard. So I spent months researching what printer to get. I had one buddy of mine that was like trying to tell me not to get the ANAC, get a maker bot. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to spend, I don't want to spend like $2,000 on something that I don't know if I'm going to like, you know? Yeah. And, I apparently liked it a little bit, but
yeah.
I look at it this way. If I didn't start out with such a dumpster fire of a printer, I wouldn't have learned what I did, you know? So there is value to struggling through this arduous process of trying to get this hunk of crap from China to work. That's probably going to burn your house down if you stop looking.
That's skin in the game right there, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
When I got that ANET A8, I completely I went through, read everything. I saw, okay, people's bed MOSFETs are burning up. The power supplies like to catch on fire. So I bought a new power supply right out of the gate. I put a MOSFET on the heated bed. And like, I've had, you know, I have a background in like on like a hobbyist level, probably a little higher than that now, but back then, and just like electronics. So all this stuff kind of makes sense to me, you know, how MOSFETs work and wiring and all the, you know, the basics. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me, but I've always had background in programming. So when I started getting into the printers, I'm like looking at this. I'm like, okay, it's got the electronic side, it's got the software side, and now it's got also the mechanical side, and all that stuff kind of comes together. And I'm pretty proficient with all of those things. And I think that's why too a lot of people struggle with the printers, because you do kind of have to be this, you know, jack of all trades when it comes to them. You know, it can be daunting sometimes, you know, and that's like one thing that our company tries to do is we try to simplify things as best as we can. And, you know, in a market that's flooded by all these Chinese companies that give you products that are good value for what you pay for, the technical and customer support is non-existent. You know, so we get people that come to us that just are tired of dealing with the manufacturer, and they come to us to get the replacement parts, you know, and we have people here that, you know, they're not just salespeople. We don't actually have any salespeople here. They're all guys that we met through the 3D printing community and hired them, you know. So, you know, a couple of people in person here that work in our shop. So like we're kind of split between remote employees and person. So I'm in my garage here. We have a 2-acre property here in Hobart, and we have a shop that's about 150 feet from where I'm sitting right now, and that's where all the main operations are. So I have a team here. Usually it's 4 to 5 people during the week in the shop, and then we have 3 technical support people that work remotely. One's in Virginia, one's in California, and one's in Georgia. So, you know, and these are all guys that they are nerding out about this stuff just as much as I am. You know, so you get to talk to people. You know, you go on our live chat on our site, or you send a ticket in. You're not just talking to some person in India that's reading a script like you get with Amazon or other companies. You get people that actually know this stuff, and if there's something that is over their head, they have direct access to me during the day to, you know, ping me. So I don't handle any of the technical stuff directly anymore, but I am available to my team if they need to run something past me that may be a little over their head. You know, and like I do, you can ask my wife. I pretty much live in this room here, you know, that we built out in my garage. You know, I'm tinkering with doing firmware. I'm making new products. I actually just got some new products in today that are not released yet.
Ooh.
So
that's always fun.
I just got the final. This is the final batch to do some QC and testing on before they go off to bulk production. So
awesome. So is that bulk production for you, or is that like one of your suppliers is making it and then they're just having you beta test it?
No. So this is our product. We actually found a company. They're actually open source Wi-Fi outlets, and they integrate with Octoprint for home automation geeks. Cool. They also work natively with Home Assistant. So a lot of the plugs on the market you can get, and like it's a 50-50 shot if you can get ones that like they all come with this Chinese firmware. Usually it's called Tuya or Smart Life. And you can sometimes hack it and trick it into taking firmware like Tasmoda. But it's a pain in the butt. I'll try not to swear on here. I want to keep it family friendly. I don't know if anybody's seen my streams. Sometimes I swear.
yeah.
But I'll try to keep it PG tonight.
Sure.
So what my thing was, I'm like looking, I'm like, no one has outlets that just come with open source firmware on them. You always have to hack it, and half the time, and I've done it. I'd buy like a 4-pack of these outlets on Amazon, and half of them I'd be able to flash to the TES mode, and the other half I'd end up bricking, and I have to cut the casing open to actually flash it, because you're soldering on wires to get to the GPIO pins for the TX and RX pins, and it's a complicated thing. So I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm just going to try to find a company that can make the outlets, and then we're going to roll our own firmware. We're going to do all our own branding and everything, do all our own testing. So went through a bunch of different, I think I went through about 30 different samples of different outlets from different vendors.
Very cool.
Found one that met those requirements. And so now we have our own, and that's what I have sitting in there. So they're our actual brand, like they're a custom made outlet for us. And the goal is to get something that's literally just, you plug it in, it's all locally controlled. You don't have to worry about downloading some Chinese app on your phone, making an account. And the main goal is when you have Octoprint, which is usually runs on a Raspberry Pi to control your printer.
Yeah.
This will be able to cut the AC power to your printer in the event of like a thermal runaway condition that the board can't trigger, or if the printer hard locks and the firmware can't actually shut down the machine because the CPU itself is locked up.
Cool.
Or just, in normal conditions, is when it's done with a print, it shuts the printer off for you. So your fans aren't running. It's not sitting there idling, taking up power. So
yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, any safety precautions on that's really good.
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier, another time, about safety precautions on how important it actually is to make sure that your printers aren't going to be burning stuff down.
Yeah, that's why I sent you those bootloader kits. You can get your enders updated.
I appreciate that, really. Yeah. So can real quick before we get very technical, which we already got kind of technical. It's fine. You want to just take us through your shop? And we have some questions too, but I know like last time you were able to like click over and give me some shop tour, like just from sitting there. Anything?
So I have.
Tell us about it a little bit more, because your shop is really pretty awesome.
I gotta move you guys over, but I can actually share my screen here. Let me pull up my. I have my security camera, so hang on. Hey Google, turn on shop lights and turn on print farm lights.
See, James, you got to install that.
Google, I have to get Google. Is that what you're saying? Because that's
yes.
It's got Google.
Okay, so let me switch here. Let me switch here to my TH3D group, and actually, I can just share my screen through OBS here.
I probably should have.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is freaking awesome. Okay.
So this is. I just turned the lights on here. So we're currently. So I literally over Saturday and Sunday we just put all this new racking in here. So we're actually adding more cameras. So this is like our assembly area here where we package all the products. We do some testing here. We have fold-out tables we bring out. Like I said, it's kind of messy right now because we just set these up and we're in the middle of reorganizing everything.
It doesn't look that messy, actually.
It was way worse a little while ago. So, but there's just different angles. So like this is all our packing area here. So we have two 4-foot by 8-foot workbenches. You see there's boxes underneath here.
Yeah. Yep.
And then this is just another shot here. So this is where we package and stage all the orders. I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can see it in any of the shots, but there's a packing computer over here with a wireless barcode scanner that we do all our stuff. Nice. This with all the stuff on it right now is our 80-watt CO2 laser. We use this for doing prototypes. We don't do anything production with it. For example, we use it for cutting out cardboard templates to make sure that the plates we design for our flex system actually fit the machine. So we do a cardboard cutout to do that before we send that file off to the manufacturer to have them cut the steel.
Yep.
So that's our shop side of things. So we usually have about like 2 to 3 people working in this area. Usually one over in shipping. And then we usually have one guy over here and another guy testing here. This guy's actually, this is actually where they're going through and testing all the parts, all the bearings, all the lead screws, all the other motion components on our Ender 3 Dual Z kits that we have.
Nice.
So like we seriously test everything. We inspect everything. We test everything. This is our print farm. You can see here all our filament stash down here. This is just our PLA stash. ABS is, I think, should be over here. They were all moving it. But we have, these are all Ender 3s and all enclosed in insulated enclosures is what we run all our ABS jobs on.
Right. Those are nice enclosures.
Yeah, these are from Printed Solid. They have a new version of them out, but Printed Solid, I'm going to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for enclosures for your printers, they're awesome and they're made here in the US. And then I've got, oh yeah, we also, this is clutch here too. So whenever we get customers saying, oh, I didn't get this in my order. Well, everything's recorded. Every single thing is recorded, and it's pretty well detailed. This is like scaling it down. But
yeah, that's cool. So if somebody forgets to pack something, you know that they actually pack something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, they did move all there's all our other materials. So we have a
you were just looking for that right now. That's all you were doing. You're like, wait, where did that go?
So this is my general manager's desk. You can see he has a fetish for monitors.
I mean,
although I really can't talk much because I've got 3 27-inch screens in front of me and a 58-inch TV above me. So, but that's just kind of our shop. So like, if you look here, so this is a camera that's off the garage here. So right behind my station wagon here is where I'm sitting, and here's a shop here, just to give you a relation and as to how far it is.
Short walk to work, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, but I'm all about like all the home automation stuff. I could talk for hours about all this stuff. So, but yeah, that's
you just turn your lights on with your voice was pretty cool.
Oh, here,
I'm not gonna lie. I know that's like super simple.
Here,
but man.
Hey Google, turn off print farm lights and shop lights. It's probably gonna yell at me because I didn't say. Oh, hang on, give it a sec.
It didn't go.
No, there's a delay. There it goes.
Oh, okay. There we go.
You like that?
That's awesome.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So do you have a loudspeaker so you can just like talk to all your employees?
I do.
Oh my God. I was joking, actually. I was totally joking.
So awesome.
I have a Chromecast audio hooked up to the speakers with a 200-watt amp. So there's speakers in the shop and there's speakers in the print farm. And I can send like text to voice and it like speaks it. So like, you know, if there's like someone screwing off, I'm like, hey, get back to work. And it's like not me saying it, but it's like the computer voice saying it,
like Stephen Hawking's voice. Yeah,
like think about like how the Google Home sound, like how Google talks back to you. It's that same exact voice. So
that's awesome.
Their managers really Google. Really,
that's.
I think we talked about Skynet last time.
I'm smart about it. Okay, everything ties into Home Assistant, and then Google talks to Home Assistant. So if Google ever has an uprising, I just make one switch and it's cut off.
That's awesome.
That is an awesome setup you have there. You guys,
I have not armed my robot vacuum, so I think I'm pretty good aside from lights shutting on and off. There's not really much you can do other than annoy me.
The Roomba's gonna like bump your foot a bunch of times.
So, but the Roombas aren't armed, so we're good.
Nice.
So you came all that way. So I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking about what I've seen you do and what like your website, all the stuff, all the upgrades and everything you're able to do. The fact that you're able to brand your own stuff and go there, and you've been doing this since like before 2000. I mean, since after 2016, which is when you got your first printer. When did you start? When did you actually like become a company and decide to do this?
Yeah.
So TH3D itself started in, I want to say it was September of 2017. So it started. That's when the name actually came about, and originally. What sparked all this was, so I got my ANET, I upgraded it, was involved in the community. I got another printer called The Start, which was a little rebranded Tron XY, which I still have right there. It's an aluminum frame now, but that's what that printer started its life as. I still have my ANET, it's in an enclosure right there. But I got a CR10, and the CR10 community, I got it, the CR10 right when they came out. And I got it, and I didn't like their board. They had a Melzi board. Nobody had, any fancy firmware for the Melzi board. No one had done any reverse engineering on the pins or anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to swap the board. So I like completely overhauled this thing. I was like, well, I want a bed leveling sensor on here. So I had put one on my ANET. I actually made like an actual little board with an opto IC on there to isolate the 12 volts that was feeding the sensor from the actual end stops, because those are only 5. So if 12 goes into the 5-volt end stop, it doesn't end well. So I made this little sensor, overhauled this printer, upgraded the hell out of it, and got it all upgraded, got it printing great. And I posted a picture of the first print off. It was this big, tall purple vase. And I was like, this printer's awesome. Like, this is great. I love it. And then posted a picture of it. And in the picture, you could see the proximity probe that I had wired up to it.
Right.
And people were like, well, how'd you get that on there? I was like, well, I just did it. So I started working on, with a couple other people, I started working on Marlin and getting Marlin. There was another guy, I can't remember his name, but he had started work on getting Marlin to work on the Melzi boards, which are the 1284p chips. They're limited on memory, and we still offer support for them today, because the problem was people weren't able to figure out how to trim down the features, which were the programming background I have came in. Is I was able to actually modify Marlin extensively to strip out stuff that's not used by everybody, so I can make more space on the board for the auto bed leveling routine. So once I had that, I had people that were asking me about like the bed leveling stuff. I was like, well, I swapped my board and everything, but I mean, I can make you a little, like, can solder up a board and stuff and send you what I have. But I ended up working on the firmware, and then I sent out a couple of, kits, which were technically the prototypes of what we sell now.
Right.
And then people loved them. So it got to the point where I was tired of making perf board, like auto bed leveling kits essentially. And I ended up learning how to do PCB design my own PCB for them, and was hand assembling at our peak. When we were still doing in-house hand assembling, we weren't doing surface mount, we're doing all through hole. We were making 500 to 600 of these boards a month.
Wow.
By hand.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
I had two guys at one point that all they did, we had 2 full soldering stations with fume extractors and everything. All they did was solder boards.
Wow.
That's
and
it.
You'd have to. Yeah, you'd have to.
So we eventually moved over to surface mount, which is what we have now, which is a lot easier and obviously a lot more automated. But that's what kicked off the company, was the bed leveling kits. And what happened was I sold it on my personal website. I had just a personal website, just a little IT blog. And I was like, well, I don't know how to sell this, because like doing onesies, twosies over PayPal was a pain. So I added the WooCommerce extension. And when I first launched the official kit, like with the actual PCB and everything, I had like 100 of them. I had some money in savings, and I took that and bought as much parts as I could, and put some of it on the credit card, and took a chance. And I sold 100 of those kits in about 32 hours, and my site was crashing every hour because everybody was hitting it.
That's awesome.
And that repeated over and over again. And that happened like 4 or 5 times. So I was like, well, maybe I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
So at the point when it started growing faster, I was like, okay, I need to break this off into its own brand, because I can't keep having it just as like TDH IT Professional. If you look at it on our YouTube channel, on the TH3D Studio one, there's actually some old videos up there from old printer reviews where it's branded TDH IT Professional, because that's what it started out of. I didn't have any intent on starting a company. I was just wanting to make some printer videos, and I made the mistake of posting a picture of what upgrades I did on my CR10, and then people were like, I want it.
Mistakes. So I like to call those happy accidents.
Yeah. But I mean, we now stock over 162 different SKUs right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We went from we had 2 versions of the ABL kit. One was like a quick plug and play one. We called it the Easy Connect. We're the only ones doing it where you could actually we had a barrel jack on it for power, so you didn't need to open your printer's power supply. You just plugged it into the wall. You plugged the Xeon stop connector into our board, and then updated your firmware. There were some other people doing like really hodgepodge together kits where like you were like having to directly wire everything in. It was kind of kludgy. So I kind of, after taking feedback from people, I kind of made something that was easier to use and less intimidating, because, there's people that someone could do the circuitry, but they couldn't do the firmware, or they could do the firmware, but they couldn't do the circuitry. So I took that and put it into a package. So, but yeah, so TH3D's name started like, I think it was like September 2017. November 2018, I quit my IT job. I was an IT manager for a trucking company in Illinois for a couple of years there. That was my full-time job. My wife and I got married in October, so I was starting a business while we were also planning for a wedding. So that was fun,
right? Like you were. It sounds to me, and I hear this a lot from relatively successful people, that they aren't planning on it, right? This happened to be the thing that like hit you at the right time, right? And you saw an opportunity, and instead of being like, you know what, I'm going to get married, and I probably shouldn't do this, you jumped on it. And you were like, hey, I'll try this, and that's great. That's what life gives you, lots of opportunities here and there. We got to make sure to grab them, and that's fantastic.
And it really helps to have a wife that's supportive. You know, she wasn't my wife at the time, you know, but imagine like two people, and we had a roommate at the time living in a 1,500 square foot condo, while also running a business out of it. And I joked originally, because it was a 2-bedroom condo. I joked originally when I got like my third printer, I joked to my room. I was like, you know, I'm gonna have to kick you out one of these days if I keep getting more printers. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up having to have him move out because I needed the second bedroom. And it was like, this is about 250 square feet. I had everything crammed into 110 square feet. I had a soldering station. I had like 15 printers. And my dad actually had to pull 2 more 20 amp circuits into that room just to run the printers.
Wow.
And I had a standing air conditioner in there too, because the central air couldn't keep up with the heat load from the printers.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow. So, and then September. Wait, no, sorry, not 2018. I'm getting my years mixed up. It's all just a blur. It's all just one big giant blur at this point. I'm like, wait, I got married in 2017. Okay, so November 2017.
Okay, we won't tell it.
Not 2018.
She's watching.
I know, right? November 2017 is when I officially quit my job. And then, because I was like, wait, because Samantha then left her job as an internal auditor at Exelon in Chicago. She left her job in April to come work for the company. And that's when because it was just me, but she's actually the majority owner now. So we are a minority woman-owned company.
Well, that's cool.
So,
nice.
But don't ask her any printer questions. She'll probably defer you to me.
She's the one with the money and the accounting experience.
Yes.
And all that stuff. So let's be honest. She's the one with the real power.
Yeah.
She's the one that
does all the paper.
Has the actual, like, the dough.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just a nerd that makes sure we have, make sure that we, have things to sell.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, it takes a team. It takes a village. Honestly, like the saying goes. Like, you said, you had a lot of different guys doing lots of different things. It seems like you've changed that around quite a bit too, right? Like, you no longer soldering things.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's awesome. It sounds like you've been moving at breakneck speeds, right? Like, you've been going fast on all of this, changing everything around. Yeah.
So that shop you see, we haven't even been in that shop a year yet.
Yeah.
Like that building, when we moved in here, was a garage that was open. So in less than a year's time, I redid all the electrical out there, pulled all the Ethernet cabling. I had a contractor come in and do the finishing on the garage side. We pulled out 2 overhead doors and put those up. We have 1 overhead door left in there for loading and unloading of things, and then all that equipment in there. We were operating out of this garage too. Like, this wall wasn't here when we bought the house. We put this up to separate my office from the garage, because this is a 4-car attached garage here. So we actually ran the company out of this garage while we were finishing the shop. So we moved out here in December of 2018. And so we ran out of the garage. We were working on the shop. That took us about 6 months. There was no heating out there. There's no cooling. So my dad and I put the gas furnace in ourselves that's out there. And then I actually installed the 2 mini split units that we have for air conditioning. So I'm quite handy. It saved us a lot of money, because I'm
sure. Yeah.
I'm willing to take a risk on doing stuff myself. I'm fairly confident in my abilities, even if it's something.
That goes a long way, right? Being able to do that, being able to build your shop, and time wise too, like time, you're always figuring out, okay, well, I got to do this now or else it's not going to happen, right? With your new company or something. So you're able to do that. So I do want to kind of cut you off a little bit here, because we do have other questions to get to.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm loving going down like how it started. It's a great story, and it sounds like it's amazing. We do have some questions I want to field though. Like, Kofi, you want to read those out and pop those up on the screen? Because I don't want to ignore the audience at all.
We have a question from our guy Benji there. Hi, Benji. Glad you're here. He will say, what's the weirdest material any of you have used to 3D print? E.g., have you used chocolate or baking? Of course, all time.
So do you want to know the best way to get your wife to approve a printer purchase?
I do, actually.
Yeah, buy a chocolate printer.
A chocolate
we have a chocolate printer. I have printed with chocolate. If you look on our TH3D Instagram, there's also a video. So I wanted to do the unboxing, but Samantha and Aaron, who's our general manager's fiance, found out we were doing it. And they're like, No, you're not unboxing a chocolate 3D printer. You're gonna let the girls do it. So
Sure. Yeah.
they did it. But I ended up spending like a couple hours with that thing, and I got a benchy out of it. I'll see if I can pull up Instagram.com, TH3D Studio. I know I have pictures of it, but yeah, I have printed with chocolate. I saw pancake ones and they intrigued me. But not enough to actually purchase one.
Not yet, because
not yet. So here's my. Here we go. So
if you're thinking we're joking about food, we're not joking about food. That's coming out soon.
So here's my benchy, chocolate benchy. Let me see here. So here it is. This was Hershey Kisses. So sliced with Simplify 3D. It takes standard G code. So yes, I have printed with chocolate. It was the most delicious benchy I've ever printed, and it didn't hurt my teeth when I bit into it.
Yeah, you didn't die from
no. Yeah, it was a little sketchy too, printing with chocolate that came in a Chinese printer box. So I was like,
You're right.
I was like,
you gotta risk it. You just gotta risk it.
So it ended up being fine.
For that kind of thing. Yeah. So do you find yourself using that very often? Like,
no,
people are like, hey, print me something. No,
not at all. It's a novelty right now.
Okay.
My wife. So if my wife wasn't doing like a diet challenge thing right now, we'd be using it. We want to use it to draw on cookies. So like, the reason we bought it was we were like, hey, for the next event that we have, the next conference or whatever, we could bring cookies with our logo 3D printed on them. But we all see how that worked out.
Well, now you just get to get better at using it and stuff before that happens. Yeah.
I've printed some other fun things on there too, just for just for laughs. But I'll leave it up to the imagination with those other things we've printed.
Sure, I can imagine. We can all imagine.
I had to. My buddy's like, you have to print that on there.
We're all adults.
I'm well aware. So,
but I got nothing. Benji, you said everybody. I not chocolate, nothing like that.
You guys have never printed with chocolate?
No, I've never printed with chocolate. We have, probably just ABS is the craziest thing because ABS is a pain in the ass to print with. But
we do a ton of ABS.
Because you guys know what you're doing.
I would hope so. At this point, I would hope so.
I think that I know. I try to tell people that I know I'm doing, and I do know a decent amount, but not nearly as much as you guys do. And that's why I love that enclosure. I was like, ooh, an enclosure, like those enclosures look nice because you got to have it with ABS.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that are like, I'm printing ABS and it keeps working. I was like, you need an enclosure.
Yeah.
So there's a little video I made. I was like, and no matter what people on the internet tell you, you need an enclosure to print ABS.
I've made it happen, but it's not pretty, right?
It comes out brittle too, because that's the problem. People don't think, they're like, well, look at it, didn't work. I was like, yeah, but your layer adhesion is going to be terrible. Because it's wanting to shrink as you're putting the next layer on top of it. It doesn't, you have to have it. Like I found the optimal enclosure temperatures between 45 to 50 Celsius. And like with the Ender 3s, just their natural heat that comes off the bed and all the other components keeps our enclosures right about that sweet spot, like around 47 to 46. Sweet. So
we got one of the little Creality enclosure like zip up boxes that I'm playing around with, but
the grow tents.
Yeah, it's a grow tent.
It's a grow tent. Yeah,
we have a grow tent, and I'm playing around with that, trying to get ABS going in the lab because I'd love to have more. I'd love to have ABS and PTG going. Yeah. But right now we just mainly do PLA. But yeah, we have other questions, and we have other questions for us.
Yeah, I see that there. Bud Livingston, he says, "What's your take on the belt printers?"
Yeah.
My interest is piqued because I have dreams of just having parts continually rolling off of the belt, just never having to remove parts, just a continuous flow of parts flowing out of my print farm. I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to take a couple years to get to something that's like production ready. Creality is pretty close already. And there's also the White Knight belt printer as well. And I know I think it's the Black Belt 3D, but that's like a high-end one. I think those are like 10 grand. But I'm going to get my hands on one of those Creality ones and see, like, it looks it looks pretty decent. Like they definitely put a lot of time into it. I'd be curious to see, because you're kind of introducing a whole other different like realm of failure modes and things that could go wrong with that, but I think it's neat. I don't think it's going to replace your standard FDM machines that we see now. But for, someone that runs off a ton of the same part all the time, I just picture having them on my racks with bins in front and just coming in and emptying bins of parts every morning, without having to have anybody clear the beds. Like that would be my use case is, if I'm printing the same thing over and over and over again, just one at a time, and then just parts are continually rolling off,
Yeah, and you do want to print one at a time more if you can.
Yeah.
I always tell people that like it's rough because everybody wants to load the entire bed up, but that back corner is not going to do nearly as well as the middle.
Well, if once you install our ABL probe, you'll change your
there you go.
So,
never mind. When we have stuff,
we fill our beds. We fill our beds to the brim. So, and a lot of our print farm, because we do like another thing. Like one of the things we do here is if we don't use it on our own stuff here, or I won't use it, we don't sell it. Sure. So all of our machines, like we drink our own Kool-Aid here. So all of our machines have all our upgrades on it. And like a lot of the stuff we have makes it really easy for, even newer people to come in and operate our farm.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
We have a question from Scott Ballard. What do you think is the next evolution of the FDM printer?
I think the next, and people have asked me this before, I think it's going to be on the software side of things, on the printer firmware, the slicing software. I think our hardware is like right now until some other patents expire. And that's I don't know if people know this. It's why FDM is blown up, is because all these patents are expiring. So now these Chinese companies can come in and make stuff that's cheap and affordable without having to worry about patent violations. So I think as we see more and more patents start expiring, we're going to see more stuff on the hardware side, but there's a lot limiting that development because they infringe on a lot of patents. Like even the belt printers, the degree that it's at has to be at a certain degree because there's patents on another degree. And I don't know the actual degree that is patented and isn't patented, but I know there was some snafu with that where someone has a patent on it. And if you had it at the same degree, then you're infringing on that patent. But I think in the meantime, you're going to start seeing more features coming with the firmware, making things a little more easy to use, having, more optimizations with slicers, doing different things with different tool paths. I think multi-material is going to be something that's getting more and more easy to use. Multi-material is still hard to use. Like even for me, it's a pain. Like I can do it if I have to, but I don't enjoy it. I have a Palette 2 Pro here that I use for multi-material. I had quite a few dual material printers, but a lot of them were very kludgy and I never really used them. So they got sold off. But like the short answer is I think we're going to see more developments on the software side in terms of ease of use and just stuff like features that will use existing hardware and stuff we have now to do things differently.
Right. I would agree with that. The only other thing I would want to add is I just got a chance to see 3D printed, like color 3D printed. Like there's a guy that 3D printed a Magic card and he did it in color. And I was like, one, holy crap, I need to tell Kofi about this, which I didn't. But two, like, yeah, it was a 3D print of the size of a Magic card, and it was full color. And that shit is stuff is really, really cool, right? Like the fact that they were able to put in that much detail in color. Like everybody's seen the multicolour, like the three.
That's like the droplets, right?
Right.
The droplet type. Yeah, I've seen those. No, it's actually ink.
The machine is crazy expensive.
Yep.
Right.
It's an HP, I think. HP is one of the ones that does.
I don't know what it was. It was actually they were testing over at Ivy Tech, so I got to see that happen. So yes,
I think for. Pictures. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
I think for if anybody's looking to do multi-material and not getting a printer that does multi-material out of the box, the palettes are expensive, but they do work. So I had a CRX. The CRX, which is a Creality machine, which is a 2-in-1 hot end, worked well. So if you want a printer, that would probably be my go-to for a dual color printer, but it's Creality CRX. It does have its pitfalls. It's got a touch screen that's horrid to use, but we actually have a kit that replaces that with a standard screen. We do a lot of that where, there's these companies like, oh, we're going to put a pretty looking touchscreen on, but what people don't realize is like your average user is like, oh, look, it's a touchscreen. Cool. Its color's got buttons. Well, they strip so much out of there and restrict access to all the low level printer settings that once you start getting more advanced, you're going to want to start tinkering with, and you can't do that with those. So we have kits that literally take those screens out and put in technically a lower end screen, because it's not a color touch screen, but the more traditional ones, like, you know, like you see on these, with the little rotary knobs. I love these. They're great. They're functional, and they're controlled by the printer's firmware, which is usually running Marlin. Whereas those touchscreens run their own OS, their own firmware, and it's closed source on a lot of them. So you can't do much with them. But in terms of multi-material, I love the Palette 2. I had the original one. I ended up selling it because we didn't use it, but I did keep our 2 Pro here. So if I do need to do like something with soluble supports or multicolors, I use that. And I like that because I can take it to any printer and use it on any machine. Yeah. So I can make, if I need to do a big project that's multicolor on my bigger printer, I just take it, I move it over there, do the setup. Or if I need something smaller, like it lives on my Solval SVO1, which is I want to say it's a 240 by 280 by 300 build volume. So it's a decent size little printer, good mid-range, middle of the road. It's not a huge CR10 or S4 or S5, but it's a good size for doing most of the stuff that I need to do. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say that's a full answer on that one. Thank you. All right, Kofi, what are some of our typical questions? Because I always
we got another question here.
Here now.
Yeah, what would you most important part to replace on an Ender 3 Pro straight out of the box?
Okay, so Ender 3 Pro. Yep. Make sure I was talking to James about this. The Pro, there's a big difference. So if you have a Pro, the main thing you want to be concerned of or be aware of that is good on the Pro is that it comes with a Meanwhile power supply. The regular Ender 3 comes with just a no-name Chinese one, and they're very unreliable. So if you have an Ender 3, you should replace the power supply with a Meanwhile. I've had those power supplies like spark and almost catch things on fire, like not the Meanwhiles, the no-name ones. But on the Ender 3 Pro, the stuff that's going to fail in your first is the fans. The hotted fan, the one that's in the control box, those go out. I get maybe 2 months out of them. When we built out our Ender 3s in the farm, we just replaced them all with the ones we sell, because we carry actually name brand fans from reputable companies that last, years instead of months. But the fans are going to be something that's going to fail within a couple of months. Most people, I don't think I know anybody other than like one person that has told me that their fans lasted more than like 6 months on those printers. So usually I'll start hearing like grinding and stuff, and the bearings.
Yeah, we have a couple of those and we've had to replace. So yeah. Go ahead.
So, but like what I personally like to do, you should update the firmware. I don't know if Creality started rolling out their new firmware. They have been switching boards. So if you buy an Ender 3 Pro now, you might get their 8-bit board, you might get their 32-bit board, and that 8-bit board may or may not have the firmware with thermal runaway protection on it. But if you have an older one, you've had it for a year or even 6-7 months, you probably don't have what's called thermal runaway protection on it. And what that is it's a routine in the firmware that monitors where it's been told to heat and if it's actually hit that target. So there's a cycle where it heats up from room temperature, and then and then there's another cycle goes to where it's maintaining that temperature, and it does these checks to make sure that when it's calling for heat, it's actually maintaining that heat. And if it doesn't meet that target in a certain amount of time, it shuts the printer down, full stop, because there's something wrong. Because what could happen is, depending on the failure mode you're in, one of those could be where if the thermistor is not reading right or fell out of the block or something, that heater card should just be told to heat until it's literally cherry red and starts melting the block and catches things on fire, which has happened multiple times. But I would update the firmware. We have it on our site. It's free. We run, our firmware is built on top of Marlin, which is open source, and we keep all that stuff open source and free to everybody. But for ease of use stuff, I love our auto bed leveling kits. We have these kits that go on, you mount a little sensor to your hot end, you update the firmware, and then you get automatic bed leveling. And then usually what I'll do then is I'll get rid of the springs. We'll put on solid bed mounts that get rid of the springs, so that bed is now more rigid. There's less play because it's not sitting on springs, it's sitting on solid metal spacer mounts. And then I'll usually add a filament sensor onto them as well. So, which we have kits for all that stuff. But the main thing is your fans are going to go out pretty quickly if they haven't already. Don't go buy random fans from Amazon unless you want to be doing the same thing, because a lot of those, there's tons of 40 millimeter fans on Amazon. They're all the same quality as Creality stuff. I joke, I was like, we should just resell Creality fans, because then I have people buying fans every 6 or 7 months, whereas the fans we sell, they last years. So I don't have a lot of repeat business on fans. Yeah. So not the best business model in that regard. Like maybe
charging that for them, right? Like
people just are like, well, $10 for one of their fans, or I can get 5 of them for $12 on Amazon. It's like, you go ahead and buy that. And I guarantee my one fan will outlast all 5 of those. You get what you pay for. So, buy once, cry once is our thing. So
there you go. That's awesome. Well, I do have another question for you, Tim.
Okay.
What is your favorite tool to use in your workshop? Wait,
this is a really hard question.
Actually, what is your favorite and least favorite? Because least favorite might be easy.
Process that you do, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't even have to be a tool. You have to use, right? Like maybe it's the tape gun to pack up stuff. I don't know.
Well, the least favorite is one we luckily don't have to use that anymore. Is we had this like roller that it's like a laminator roller that we used it to actually apply the build surfaces to our steel plates, and then I got smart and I have our manufacturer do that now instead of us doing it. That was horrible. My favorite tool. You know what? I'm gonna go with something simple that I use every day. My precision screwdriver set. A nice precision screwdriver set.
Does it have a light on it?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Because I have like 16,000 lumens of light in here. Like there's 2 8-foot LED lights above me. It's like daylight in here. So
yeah, it's a. And I gotta ask, talking about your stuff. Is that a baby Groot or a Groot head back there, or is that from Star Wars?
That's a Star Wars Cantina Band member.
Yeah, okay.
With a tinfoil hat on it. This guy named Jerry Knapp, he has a channel called 3D Printing and Painting. I think it's 3DHP is the abbreviation. He sent that to me like almost 3 years ago. So he does big prints like that and paints them and finishes them. And the tinfoil hat is just an inside joke. So I also have. Hang on.
Oh no!
So this is.
Oh yes, I should say.
This is my Benchy, and it's signed by a bunch of the 3D printing YouTube people. There's like Joel Telling on here, and there's Chris Bennett from Tiny Machines 3D. I think Joel's right here. Cat 3D, Stefan from CNC Kitchen, Jim from the Edge of Tech. This I brought to Murph in 2019, and then you see the Marlin Inside sticker here.
Yeah.
Scott Latine from Marlin stuck it on there.
Cool. Yeah, that's good.
So this is 2 rolls of clear PLA. This is done at like a 0.6 layer height. I have Alphys U10 that I kitted out just for doing big prints. So this was a 14-hour print. That's all. 14 hours. Only 5% infill. Do you see how sparse the infill is?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did it at a 45-degree angle on the bed. So, but you can actually read that it says 3D Benchy on the back.
Yeah. Dude, that 14-hour print for that is impressive.
Oh yeah, it was cruising. So I also have this. Do you guys recognize this?
No, I don't recognize. Wait, from my childhood somewhere. I'm not.
No, sure. This is the little dinosaur game that Chrome shows when you go offline.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. It's like your 404 era, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but you can see there's printers everywhere. This is my drone cart. I have a whole cart just for my drone stuff. It's also what I charge them in there too. So in case one of them goes off, when a light pose goes, it's in a metal box.
It sounds like you have, you got all the toys. You're like Batman of 3D printing.
I've got in the SAT print. I've got like 60 something machines here, and like a third of those are not even hooked up right now. So
that's how it goes, right? You only have so much time.
Well, they're like waiting for me to do R&D and testing on here. So whenever new models come out, we buy them If we like a lot of times, though, we'll get them ahead of release because a lot of Chinese manufacturers will actually send them to us because they know I'm brutally honest. Which some of them have not liked. Some of them have blacklisted us because I was like, your product, I'll feed them back a bunch of stuff like this needs to change. This is broken. This is a bad design. This, you need to fix this. Here's what you did right. Here's what you did bad. And usually the bad list is much longer than the good list. And some of them go, okay, thank you. And they fix stuff. And other ones are like, no, you're just wrong. You're doing it wrong. It's like, no. So like GearBest doesn't send us stuff anymore because I would not make affiliate sales pushing crap. So, but hey, the joke's on them because I'm going to buy them anyways. And there's nothing they can do to stop me. So
awesome.
That's awesome. Here's the thing. It's good to be honest on that, with feedback, and people who appreciate criticism will, very much enjoy that. You know what you're doing, so that's great. You should definitely test that. All right, so we don't have any other questions.
I got one more.
Okay.
What is your biggest printing or design flop?
Fail. Yeah, your flop or fail.
Like a failed print or a failed thing in the business.
Yeah, failed print or something. Yeah. Like you're like, we're going to make this really cool thing and it's going to be cool. And then you're like, no, it didn't work.
You have it.
We attempted to launch our own printer and we lost about $15,000 on that. Because I couldn't find people that, could match positive to positive, negative to negative every time.
Ooh, that's rough. Yeah.
Rough.
What's even more rough is I have, if my damn screen would change. I'm gonna have to manually do it like a peasant. This is actually the prototype I built that I still use every day, and it's still printing 2 years later.
Wow.
That's the prototype of your printer. The printer.
So we found a manufacturer in China that made a decent printer to start, and then we customized it from there. And the goal was to get basically like shells of printers sent to us, and then we do all the final QC assembly and all the upgrades and stuff here. And it flopped, because I couldn't get people that just despite all the directions and training we did, we just couldn't get people that had common sense when it comes to a lot of the electronic stuff. So lost a lot of money on that. We ended up having to just liquidate out all the machines that we were going to use to build them. And that was rough.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah, that is rough. I'm sure there's good stuff that came from it. Like you learned a lot about certain things, and if you ever try to do it again or need to do it again, I always try to be that positive. Hey, what about the silver linings here? But
I mean, it's hard. It's hard when the issue was we're lucky we got better people now that can do that stuff. But it's also it's really difficult because it's the first time when we had issues, it's like, okay, do we need to up training? Do we need to do this? So we make better documentation, we do more training, and then things still fall flat. And we're like, okay, well, I guess this is just something we're not ready for yet. We don't have the talent we need. And one of the hardest things about being in this industry is when I need something along those lines of that kind of person is I can't just go out and hire for a 3D printer technician. They don't really exist right now.
Right.
It's such a new industry that trying to find something that specific is very hard. So we try to find people that have, just general technical background, that kind of stuff. But we've been through a lot of crap. So, but
the entrepreneur issues.
Honestly, you've come such a far way in such a short time, and I understand that you know that you could do better, and I get that 100%. But just so you know, from outside looking in, it seems like you're doing just fine. Kicking ass and being awesome. We do have another question from Quaid. It looks like he's asking, "What do you do with your drones?"
What do I use my drones for? They spend a lot of money.
Very like fun hobby, right?
It's my fun hobby. That one has not turned into a business yet. I'm not going to rule it out, but you know, I have put one into the pool before. I had a motor wire go all haywire on me, and all of a sudden my drone I just spent like 6 hours building went right into my pool, and luckily just one of the ESCs fried. So could have been worse, but it's my fun hobby. I use it to exercise the dog. The dog chases it, so I'll get it up in the air and then fly it around the yard, and she just runs laps around the yard. I don't know. She's with my wife. I tried getting her to come out here.
Do you ever do it with? Do you ever do like product photography of, I guess, like going down through like your shop?
Oh no, I'm not. So my drones are more like racing style. Okay. They're not like the DJIs where they're like super stabilized and smooth, especially when I'm flying, because I'm a terrible pilot still. Like I can do, like, if I got enough space, I'm pretty good. I don't crash too often anymore. But you know, I'm still very much green with it, you know. But that's another hobby too, where like the electronics came in play, and you know, there is some not as much programming aspect of those, but there's, you know, tinkering and firmware and that kind of stuff. So, but that's my fun hobby. I might not turn into the business just because I don't want to hate it sometimes. So I still love 3D printing, but some days I really don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's that way with a lot of stuff. But when I've talked to you before, you were like, yeah, I still like putting stuff on 3D printers, and I still like 3D printing. So that's good if you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I like working on my own personal machines. So these are my personal machines in here. They do run off jobs for customers and stuff. Sure. But this is my little personal. No one touches these. No one touches these. No staff, no employees. No one touches my printers. Leave my printers alone. You guys have your own to mess up. So I see Scott Ballard is asking, what is the main advantage of a 32-bit board? The main thing is you can fit more features on it with the firmware. You could run your prints faster without getting bottlenecked. A lot of the 8-bit boards, especially if you're using stuff like junction deviation or linear advance, that kind of stuff, the more advanced motion controls, the processor can start bogging down, just because, you know, like, for example, like our board, like we have a board that we actually designed for the Creality printers. We call it our Easy board, and that's got 120 megahertz ARM processor on it, versus the stock boards that these printers, you know, traditionally came with is an 8-bit 16 megahertz processor with like 128K of program memory. You know, ours is half a meg of program memory on it, so you can fit a lot more stuff on there, and it's a heck of a lot faster. But if you're just an average person, you're not going to see a huge 9-day difference. But once you start pushing the printer, you start pushing for faster print speeds, you start playing with the firmware more, you start doing, you know, getting into more advanced features. That's where you're going to start seeing the 32-bit boards start to shine and the 8-bit kind of fall behind, because they do have that horsepower. Like, we're barely scratching the surface on these ARM chips, on these processors, which is great, because they have a ton of horsepower compared to these old Atmel chips that everything traditionally came with. So,
yeah,
nice.
I told you knew his stuff, guys.
Yeah,
I need to brag on him for a second. Like,
he knows his stuff.
Not blinking, right? Like, just naming this stuff off. Yeah, it's good. You can tell when somebody's passionate about something when they're talking like that. So we're right at 9, but I'm happy to go a little over.
I got time. It's all good.
Okay, cool. So I don't want to
keep asking me questions. So if I'm talking too much, just give me a nudge.
No. It's about you. It's about you. And also, we want to know all the knowledge that you are dropping, like, at rapid fire speed. So that's good.
I have a note on my monitor here for when I'm recording videos that says "talk slower when making videos." Literally, I'm posted on my monitor.
That's awesome.
You're not talking too fast by any means.
I'm gonna make a shameless plug. You can get this shirt on our merch shop.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
I made this myself.
No, honestly, that's very true, especially when you have 40 some odd printers you have, right?
I like sending pictures when I'm doing a ton of little parts on my printer beds in here. I love sending pictures of it to my general manager, because he gets so anxious when there's a ton of little parts on there. But I like this. We carry this stuff I don't know if you've ever heard of it, the nanopower. This stuff is amazing.
What's it do?
You put it on your printer bed, you spread it out, and it sticks things down. So, like, even if you have a decent surface, there will be some parts that just might come off the bed. I joked, like, this is my insurance policy. Like, I throw it on all the machines, whether I need it or not, because it's going to be that one time when I'm doing a whole bed of parts and one part comes loose and ruins the whole job.
Yeah, that's what happens to us more than I want to say.
And like I was talking about this. So I do. We also do on the TH3D YouTube channel Mondays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central. We do a live stream called Ask Tim, where you can literally ask me questions, and I sit there for an hour, sometimes longer, depending on what's if it's a busy day or not. Sure. And I answer questions. And I was talking about this. Like, this is my personal bottle from my farm here. This is 6 months of use. And I'm not even like halfway through it. Those of you guys who are vapors, keep these away from your juice bottles, because I don't know if you noticed, but it's
looks similar.
It's literally the same bottle. These are the same Chubby Gorilla bottles, like literally the same logo. So I got to be careful which one I grab when I'm refilling my tank. But this little bottle, well, I shouldn't say this is a little bottle, but this bottle's $50. So some people balk at the price, but like if this is all I go through in 6 months with 13 machines in here, like this stuff goes a long way. I love it
every time, right?
And this is one of the, no, you don't put it down every time. I get about 20 prints per application.
Oh, okay.
So, this is one of those products that we bought for our print farm, and I liked it so much. After using it for a year, I go, like, we need to sell this. Like, because we were talking about it, and like we bring it up on streams. We'll talk about it. I was like, we need to carry this, because one, then I get a better price on the stuff we use.
Oh, definitely.
Just internal use it. But no joking aside, this stuff is legit. And I was skeptical about it too, because I was like, $50, this is some gimmick. And then my buddy got a bottle from it, and he's like, dude, you know that stuff you're making fun of? I was like, yeah. He's like, it's actually really good. You should get some. I was like, fine, I'll try it. And then, yeah, it's good.
Now you sell it.
Now I sell it.
Yeah.
So, but we've got all sorts of stuff.
It's what you were saying before.
Why am I taking up the whole screen? I don't like this.
I don't know. I didn't press buttons. I never press buttons, to be honest. I do all this magically.
Is Kofi in charge of this?
I am in charge of this.
You're running this circus?
Yeah,
I am running this show.
I need to get better at it. But yeah. So it seems like you really do tend to use and put forth the things that you believe in, which is really cool. That's always good to see.
Well, the double-edged sword of that is there's a lot of stuff that we could sell and make a lot of money on, but it's not stuff I feel comfortable selling. Yeah. So I mean, it's good and bad, because there are other companies that they'll sell whatever because they know people buy it, but I don't like selling stuff that doesn't actually give people value. Like, there's a lot of upgrades and stuff people do just to do it, and I'm like, you're wasting your money. Like, I'm not going to sell you stuff that's going to not give you a benefit on your machine. There's a lot of stuff people do that it's like technically on paper it's better, but in the end result you don't see any difference, so we don't sell certain things. Like there's certain boards from like Creality even that we don't sell, that are boards they sell because they're not engineered properly. And from a business standpoint, I don't want to deal with warranty claims because the parts fail because they're not thermally engineered correctly. Or like stuff like it's going to fail because it's not engineered correctly. And like, they'll be out of warranty, but I still don't want to sell people stuff that I know isn't made right.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That's a good attitude to have, I think. And by the way, you just sold me on that $50 bottle.
I love this stuff.
I love just buying random gimmicks. So I'm the guy,
and it's made in the U.S. Made in the U.S.
Yes, in U.S. I'm gonna be trying
America.
Hang on, look at my America flag.
Yeah, I see it back there.
America. That's wood. I had a guy. There's a local guy that makes those.
Nice.
I was like, I like that. I'm gonna hang that in my office.
You have a couch back there, like you said.
There's a futon, right? Yeah. So if I piss the wife off, I have a place to go.
Yeah.
It folds back. So that's actually Claire's futon. She lays right there usually when she's in here. So when the wife gets tired of her, like I'll be sitting here and I just hear the garage door open and the dog gets dumped out here, and then the dog just kind of slinks back. She's like, her ears are down. I'm like, you screwed up, didn't you? And she just like, I was like, yeah, go lay down on your couch and think about what you did.
Man, she's got a better life than a lot of people do.
She's spoiled.
Yeah. That's I want my own couch.
Right.
Anyway,
dude, this was $100 on Walmart delivered.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
why I got it.
We have a couple more questions I want to get to.
Okay.
End here. So the first one that came up there was, what's the largest thing you've ever printed?
That Benchy. That
Benchy
right there. That's the biggest thing I've ever printed. So I missed the opportunity. So I built a guy I know from the community had us build him out like this ridiculously overbuilt, upgraded CR10 S5 machine. And that's a 500 by 500 by 500. My biggest machine is 400 by 400 by 500.
Wow.
And I wanted to do a print that just maxed out the bed, and I didn't get a chance to before he picked it up. So, but he's using it. We built it out for him, so he spent like $1,300 on this machine, literally, so he can do a R2D2 in one piece on the bed. It's like a life-size R2D2.
That's awesome.
Like he's doing like there's these groups that these guys build fully working motorized radio controlled R2D2s, and some of them are even autonomous. Like they'll literally follow you around and just navigate on their own. It's wild.
Dude, you gotta come with me to a cosplay convention.
God, I wish I had free like that.
Yeah, they're there, man. They're I forget what the name of the droid. I should
the
know
BB-8s.
that.
The BB-8s.
Yeah, no. So there's a whole. They have an entire like organization name, and I'm spacing on it. But yeah, those guys that do the droids. I went to Star Wars Celebration, and they had an entire room full of them up in Chicago, and they literally had the droid that was carrying lava with them. Like these guys go crazy. Like Star Wars droids out like so much goodness. A lot of them make them out of wood, but now 3D printing them now, made out of metal. And you're right, they can control them. They're so much fun to have. They're in parades and they're all over conventions. They're amazing. And then we have another question here too.
Yes, we do. Well, working on any future projects?
I'm getting into resin printing.
Yep.
I have a outside of my door here. I have a enclosure that's got five or six resin machines, and I got a couple of wash and cure stations. James and I were talking about the wash and cure stations when we were chatting. I'm getting into resin printing. I'll actually show because these are literally a couple weeks away from release. But these are just the prototype. These are those plugs I was talking about. So these are just generic boxes. They actually have full branded boxes, but these are our own Wi-Fi plugs. Even got our logo and everything on them. Oh, it's like overexposing.
That's
camera.
Awesome.
What are you doing? So yeah, like these are like it's blowing it out. So but they're just simple Wi-Fi plugs, and like I said, there's no Chinese software on here. It's literally running Tasmota. If you guys do home automation or anything like that, you'll probably be familiar with Tasmota. But it's all local controlled. So these will come in just like plain boxes. These are just like the ones they had. They're making our actual boxes with the branding and everything. These are just generic. It just says like Wi-Fi socket on it. But these are. I'm really excited for these. I think these are going to be a really big hit, and hopefully there'll be some overlap too with the home automation people, because I have some of the prototypes in my house in use, controlling lights and stuff. Because I was like, you know what, I'm going to put them into service, and they've been running for 6-7 months now with no issues. So I'm very happy with those. So there's some other stuff that's in the works, but not ready for public disclosure yet. So, but in the next couple of months, there's gonna be a lot of new stuff coming from us. We're targeting Q1 of 2021 to release a lot of new things. So just keep an eye on us.
No, we will. And people out there, don't forget to follow them. They're on Facebook. Actually, break it down for us. Where are you?
Where can we follow you?
We're on Facebook. We're on the new up and coming social network MeWe. We're on there. I'm a big fan of alt tech is, I guess, the term for it. Not the mainstream ones. But Facebook, MeWe, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Discord server if Discord is your jam. We got like 3,200 people in our Discord server with over 1,500 active at any given point. It's actually, you can go in there and there's people talking all day.
That's awesome.
We also have a forum too. I'm a big fan of forums. I'm trying to keep them alive, man. These Facebook groups are terrible with organization, but I am holding on to the forum. I will keep a grip on. I will keep running a forum till I die. They need to make a comeback. They're so much better. They're a much better way to organize information than Facebook groups. Because like Facebook groups, it's like, unless it's like a hot thing, it's just gone. It's like in the abyss of the group and never to be found again. You know. I think that's everything. Facebook, MeWe, Twitter, Instagram. We have Discord. We have a forum. I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah. Do you ever do Twitch or YouTube, of course?
So I have a Twitch account set up for. Yeah, we have YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. It's really easy to find our YouTube. Just go to youtube.th3dstudio.com, or you can go to youtube.com/th3dstudio. That'll take you there. We have a Twitch account. I don't use it, but that might be changing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're already doing the YouTube stuff, I feel like that's a lot of video and a lot of editing and everything else you got to do. So,
well, if you do live streams, there's no editing with live streams.
Well, there's that too. Which is, I mean, the same as Twitch.
Oh my God, I did a video of installing our ABL on the Sidewinder X1, and that was. I had 2.5 hours of raw footage, and I chopped it down to 30 minutes. And I still wish I made it smaller, but oh God, it took way longer than I'm willing to admit. I hate editing videos. I despise it. And then like Sony Vegas is crashing on me every 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, just continually hitting Control S to make sure I'm saving my file.
Yeah. That it's video editing and putting videos out. It's a whole other undertaking.
Yeah,
entire different thing than what you're passionate about a lot of times, right? So that's good.
But it's a necessary evil. It's part of what we have to do.
I think that's everywhere I know of you, so that's good. That's cool. Thank you for sharing all that stuff. And definitely anybody watching that doesn't already follow them, go follow them because you're gonna learn some stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We'd like to thank you definitely for coming on here. You have, I learned a whole lot real fast.
No, thanks for having me on here. I like talking. If you guys haven't noticed.
No, that's good.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's good. And Kofi, go ahead and tell us where you can find you too.
Oh, okay. Well, you can find me at Friday Austin on everything, or at Friday Austin Worldwide. You can also find me at Mojo Up Marketing Media. If you have any marketing media needs, we handle that for you. Thank you guys for being here, James.
Yeah, so I'm James Wolfgar, and thanks for joining us here on Maker Monday. I'm here currently in the MatchBOX Maker Lab, and we're going to be doing a couple new things coming up probably next year. Hopefully going to keep Maker Monday, maybe do some other stuff too. But I really, really do appreciate the support that you guys are giving us. I know it's just on Facebook right now. We'd like to change that. And anyway, if you have any questions at all, feel free to message us. Just shoot me an email. Email is just lab@matchboxstudio.org. And I'd be happy to give you a tour of the space too. Right now, the COVID's really picking up. So obviously we require masks and everything like that, but we are still open and I can give you a tour. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you guys. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
For sure.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.